Okay, good evening. How is everyone tonight? We got a few people in here already. 7 of you. If you're in here, be sure to smash that like button. Helps the channel out a lot when you do that. Let's see here. Mysterious, good to see you again. Luna, good to see you. Jake, welcome back. Malango, good to see you. Good evening. And Animal Man. All right. So, got my coffee here tonight, getting ready to go. It has been a day for sure. Hot day too. Whew. See, Dakota, welcome. Well, welcome to your first stream, Dakota. It's always good to have you. Love to see when viewers can actually make it to the streams. I hope you enjoy yourself here. So, all right. My week has been busy for sure. Been spending a lot of time working with Odin in order to get the Rune class filmed and up on the channel. Also, been spending a lot of time working with Azazel because I've been getting a lot of requests to do a video on him. Since I mentioned that I have worked with him in the past. So me and him's been sitting down and chatting on just exactly how we want that video to go. Because I don't want to just do your standard old, here's Azazel, this is what his lore is. This is why you would call him if you're interested. Because he's so much more and so much bigger than that. And at the same time, that makes it really hard to do a video for him. So I've been spending a lot of time working with him. And sitting down, chatting with the 9 rulers as well. And even the Fae Queens. We're actually making some ground on those Fae Pathworkings. Thank God. I'm really getting excited to that. In fact, looks like we're actually going to get into some of the testing here real soon. So uber excited on that. Let's see. Yeah, everyone does seem to be in a good mood this evening, which is always a good thing. Andrew, good evening, man. Bernaldus, welcome. Glad to see you made it. All right. 10 people in here already. Awesome. Very awesome. So that has kept me very busy. Also been trying to answer emails and stuff. I'm getting a lot of requests for private classes and the apprenticeship programs. And I am trying to get more spots open that I can apply, but my time's really limited. So I apologize for everyone. Right now, I am full. I don't have any open spots. So if you email me, the best I can do is get you on a list and see how that goes. Oh, some pulled pork. That's good stuff, man. That is good stuff. I actually got me a massive delivery of charcoal this week, over 40 pounds of charcoal, because I buy in bulk. So I'm looking at running the smoker at least once a week for the next few weeks. May share a few of those pictures in the Discord. We'll see. But I'm actually wanting to do some pulled pork on the smoker. So other than that, it has just been crazy, crazy busy. And I am, like I said, I am trying to get more spots opened up for the those interested in private courses. Mystic, welcome back. Good to see you again too. For now, honestly, I am just swamped with my private research, my path workings, and well, the filming of the 102 class and keeping the channel up and running. So awesome, Malango. That is so awesome. Glad to hear it. I hope it's good. Well, you said you've already tried this coffee, didn't you? I think you said you already tried this coffee. So, hey, good stuff. I'm actually drinking a nice little treat here tonight. We ordered something. They sent me the wrong coffee, but their sending me the correct one for free. So I'm getting to try Thor by Iron Bean Coffee Company. That stuff's pretty good, I'll be honest with you. Might have to put it in my normal rotation. Awesome. 5 pounds of coffee that is super yummy and one of your favorites, that's a good way to go. Now, see, if you start doing 5 pounds of coffee a month, you're going to start catching up with me, Malango. Then what are you going to do? Mystic says that they did some meditation yesterday and it was intense. Is that normal? Actually, Mystic, it depends on the meditation, but there are a lot of meditation practices and stuff that they can feel pretty intense. Even the basic stuff, if you're starting out. I mean, I'm not sure what your skill level is or anything, but when starting out, even the basic ones can get pretty intense as you get into those meditations. And let's say, for example, you're using the dragon flame ritual. This is just, I don't know what you did, but this is just a per se example. That's a meditation that energetically it can be intense anytime, any day. Couple that with the lunar energies that have been moving through. And yeah, it's going to be pretty easy to get an intense meditation going. So that's pretty normal. Vortex Wow asks, where do dragons go when they die? They actually have a little realm, I guess is what you'd call it. It's its own little dimension kind of thing. It's a underworld for dragons. They refer to it as the dragon's graveyard. And it is an underworld specifically set aside for dragons. It's not an easy place to access or even visit because it is a place of privacy and rest. But that is where they go, though it does have access points to other underworld realms. So it is possible to see deceased dragons that have passed on in other underworlds that they may be visiting or helping out. Because, like many of us, when they pass on, that's not the end. They continue doing other things. So yeah, they would actually go to that dragon's graveyard. Now there is like this big, massively long name that they gave it. I've never been able to pronounce it. But it honestly translates to dragon's graveyard. And that's just what they've always started referring to it as. So I may actually put the long name in print at some point in a video or something. Oh, well, yeah. When you're connecting with your guardian dragon, those do get intense. Those do. So there's a lot of energy involved with those mystics. So that actually makes sense. That really does. That makes sense. And congratulations on working with your guardian dragon. That's awesome. That is awesome to hear. I apologize if you hear this noise going on over here, this nonsense. We apparently got a skateboarder out here who thinks he's Evil Knievel or somebody. So far, he's busted his face a time or two. We'll see how that continues to go. Hopefully, you can't hear it though. So, no, that pretty much actually sums up about most of my week. I did get to chat with Lilith and Samiel a little bit, and it does look like we're getting ready to ramp up and dive into that Clephothic path working. They didn't give me a dead on. It still looks like first of the year, I'm suspecting. But I'm also preparing in case they decide to open that up early on me. See, New Benol Is it? I apologize if I mispronounced that. Welcome. Um, no, when I say I see them around the house, it's with my arcane sight, if that makes sense, or clairvoyance is what some people refer to it as. If you don't have your arcane senses trained, you wouldn't pick up on them. So mind's eye would actually be a good way to translate that. It's not like they physically take a tangible form in this reality, uh, though they have ghosted past and at least tangible enough to get guests to freak out, but not know what they saw. But yeah, I'd say 98% of the time you see them through your mind's eye. But with practice with your arcane sight, what you're seeing actually projects outward. So it's not in your head, you're starting to see outward. It's part of that development. For me, at this point, it's an outward projection, but you are using your arcane sight still. I hope that makes sense. What the hey are you all talking about? Oh, the skateboard. Oh, Lord. Well, I mean, I don't blame him. It's like a little bus stop with like a brick horseshoe wall around it, so it's actually a good place to do some of the jumps and tricks. Just a little annoying at the moment, you know what I mean? Normally, I just turn the radio on and ignore him. But good to know that he's not coming through. Well, Mystic Guardians actually don't have an element yet. They're too young. So energetically, she may be close to the earth element, and when she grows up, she may actually choose to work in earth. But guardians really don't have a locked in element. They're too young. They've not actually chosen a specialty or an element of any kind at this point. They're still in that learning stage. So I usually recommend to students not to try and lock your guardian into an element because you'll make an assumption about them that could throw a curveball at you that you're not expecting. Um, but it is possible energetically that they do feel Earth, and that may actually be where they gravitate to when they grow older. But they're still young, and that could change in a heartbeat, actually. I know the little guardians that run around here, energetically, ooh, oh man, the last 2 years they keep flip flopping energetic signatures like you wouldn't believe. It's been crazy. It's been exhausting keeping up with them, but fun. Uh, Diaz Demeril asks, I hope I pronounced it right. If I didn't, I apologize. What do I think seeing synchronicities about dragons means? Honestly, synchronicities about dragons can mean a lot of things. Symbolism for dragons can deal with magic, they can deal with the future, they can deal with honor, courage, discipline, and balance. So, if you're seeing a lot of these synchronicities, I would evaluate those aspects in your life and ask yourself, does any of these need work? And for most people, this isn't saying it's you, but for most people, when that synchronicity starts popping up, it really tends to fall into that balance and discipline category. Their life is lacking in that. You will actually find that it goes into that honor some concept and needing to build yourself up sometimes. But that being said, it can also mean the dragons potentially would be calling to you and wanting to work with you. But I don't want to jump to that one first because the other ones generally, to the mass populace, are more likely. So I would actually sit down and meditate on those different things and find out if there's one of those in your life that you need to work on and build up. I mean, we're all doing self-improvement daily. Nobody's perfect. And also, I mean, if you feel up to it, meditate on the dragons. See if perhaps they are calling to you to start dragon magic and working with them. No harm in asking. And I'm glad you're enjoying the videos. Thank you very much. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. PG, you made it. I was starting to wonder, girl. You had me worried. It's like, uh-oh, Peachy's not here. Something's wrong. Hey, TC, you made it. Welcome. And Twilight, you made it too. That's all right. We just got started. We're only 15, 16 minutes in. We're good. We do have 8 people here viewing and 10 likes. Definitely smash that thumbs up button, people. Helps the channel out. Lets YouTube know you like what we're doing. Also, if for some reason we get busy like we did last week and I'm missing your questions, I apologize. We do have Super Chat. It flashes it up on the screen. All Super Chat questions will get answered, I promise. That's the whole point in the concept is it flashes it. I can't miss it, all that good stuff. Or for those of you who want to, if you just want to support what we're doing, you can throw in a Super Chat and donate and support the cause of getting this information out to the seekers. I know a few of you's done that, and I appreciate it. Both me and my wife appreciate everything you do to support our mission and cause to get the information out to the seekers. Oh, and that reminds me, when it comes to the stickers, it appears I cannot do anything to improve on the sticker choices. I apologize. Hopefully that is something YouTube might roll out to us in the future. So I apologize on that one. And I did take a look at those stickers. They're pretty cartoonish. They're not very good. That seems to be a common complaint across the board. It's not just us people. So let's see what we get here. Oh yeah, it's starting to be a party for sure. These streams are getting more and more popular, and honestly, it's a humbling fact. It really is. It's awesome to see so many people interested. See, Jake, I just saw your video about shadow work. So if I understood well, it is like working with your true self to work on your default. Yeah, that would be a fair way to say it, Jake. Because a lot of people try to separate aspects that it's a part of them. It's their true self, as you said. It's their true self. But we try to separate it because we don't think people's going to like it. They think they're going to judge us for it. So we just push it over here in the closet. We want to hide that. Or it's something we don't like about ourselves. Let's say we don't want to be an aggressive person and we want to, so we take our aggression and we put it over here. So we'll be calmer, more meek. And it usually comes down to being likable or something, trying to put on face, and not being the truest, authentic self we can. And honestly, when it comes to shadow work, one thing that trips people up a lot is modern spirituality, where it does focus so much on love and light. The shadow really gets a bad rap. So any form of aggression or anything which is perfectly natural, perfectly normal, and necessary for actual growth and good mental and emotional health, they choose to lock it away because it's not fluffy, it's not shiny, and people might be afraid of it. But yeah, it's very much about facing those things and accepting them and incorporating them. But it is also about dealing with some of the darker things in your path and in your life that's happened to you and healing from those and incorporating the emotions so that the emotion or the trauma or the experience doesn't control you, but you have learned and grown from it. Thoughts on the ascended self or higher self and what is often referred to as the holy guardian angel? Um, Phew, honestly, this is a tricky one. This is because when people say getting in touch with the higher self and everything, for the longest time, it didn't make sense to me. It didn't, because we're always on a progression to work to achieve a form of ascent and to ascend to a higher state of being. So if you're working toward that, then the higher self in the state that most people describe it shouldn't be there. Um, so I had trouble with the higher self for the longest time. But when I did start working in the planes and I realized that the human soul or can't fit within this meat suit that we call our bodies, so that only a fragment of the soul is here at any one time, that suddenly did make sense, because now the soul is trying to ascend. It is trying to move on, but it's not just here. So when we reach out and tap into our higher self, we're tapping into the entirety of our soul and gaining information and knowledge from that. That then made sense. And in that respect, when we talk about higher self, it's my personal opinion and shared by a few magicians I know actually and talked with, that is indeed what our higher self is. It's that larger soul entirety that cannot be contained within the human body. However, the ascended self is different from the higher self, because the higher self is just that soul that is still trying to ascend. And the ascended self is ideally what we're working toward. And once you hit that ascended state, you don't really have use of the physical realm. So you're going to move on and start the journey and the party in the next realms, and you're not going to continue to incarnate here. At least that's my understanding of it. And with the magicians and colleagues I've sat down and worked with, that seems to be the most complete concept of the structuring. And again, it's a massive concept, and there's a lot of philosophy that goes into it. And I don't truly think any one person has all the answers. For right now, in my research and my understanding, that is the most solid and complete explanation that I can offer. I hope that's helpful, Andrew. Great question, though. Absolutely great question. Awesome, Jake. Definitely, definitely. Shadow work's very important. All my students are required to do it. And yeah, it's fascinating. The video I did, it's what I'd call introduction shadow work. So it's pretty smooth compared to some things. So yeah, definitely give it a try and get to work on it. I think you'll find it very helpful practically to every aspect of your life. Because the more true you are to yourself, you just find everything improving. Mystic, there's nothing wrong with that. Call him, him, her, it, jerk, dork. You're right. Those energies can shift. They can shift genders. So calling them the energetic equivalent of him, her, whatever that it is you're picking up on, that's perfectly groovy. Nothing wrong with that at all. And dragons don't mind. In fact, I did an experiment, probably not the best experiment, but it was on Ingus, who always presents as a him to me. But I spent an entire month calling him her the whole time he was presenting Mel in all rituals. And he never seemed to bat an eye. Never, not once. Which I was expecting to at least get a smart aleck remark out of him. But no. And then talking to the other rulers, they just really don't care. So yeah, if it's comfortable for you, if it's working and that's how you feel, just roll with it. Was I trying to get a tan? Well, like I said, I mean, me and Angus, we have a friendship. We pick on each other. It's what we do. In some ways, I think I didn't get a rise out of him because I think he knew I was trying to get a rise out of him. But yeah, I mean, he's a fun guy to pick on. Friends do things like that, right? And I'm sure some of the shenanigans afterwards that followed, where he picked on me, might have played a part in it too. But yeah, they don't really give any recognition to those kinds of things. Angels Hyper 30 asks, how was the myth of selling your soul started? You know, that's a really good question, and I know probably 100 magicians who's researched this concept, and no one's 100% sure. The largest source of lore for selling the soul actually is the Faustian story, which is actually a work of fiction, but you do have magical systems based around it. But it's still a fascinating story. That is probably one of the first accounts I can find where we're talking about actual selling of souls in making a pact with the devil kind of concept. Now, there may be sources that predate that. In fact, my gut tells me there's sources that predate that. But all the sources that do predate that, if they're there, I suspect would be religiously leaning with a bias and scare tactics, which, let's be honest, the Faustian story itself is a story and a myth that's based upon a Judeo-Christian diagram and also built to show the risks and rewards of such a practice and such a deal. But that is, to my knowledge, that's the biggest source of where it all started, and most people I talk to seem to agree. Because it doesn't really seem to show up in a lot of other myths. You do hear about pacts, you do hear about deals, but you don't hear about selling souls at all. That's the first time the selling the soul seems to really be defined. So I suspect that that's the place. And then, of course, it makes for great Hollywood movies. And it, sadly, there's a lot of edgy teenagers out there. It's not a new thing. Edgy teens have always been around. It's what you do when you're a teen. They got a hold of that and they ran with it even further. And it just kind of grew on its own, like most myths do. They just kind of take on a life of their own and start growing and growing, and then the information gets divided up and shared in multiple sources. And it really comes down to most people don't even understand energy, souls, or even the entities they're talking about. And it just got out of control on its own. And then I think occultists are to blame too. I really do. Straight up. Because occultists put a lid on basically talking about anything and everything to the point where it's like, nope, we're just not going to talk about it. And since if you don't talk about it, you can't debunk bad information. And so for that, I think a lot of the occultists from like the 60s, even actually to present day, they just refuse to talk about certain stuff. And that just allows bad info to continue. And that's sad. Actually, no. I've worked with demons. I've worked with angels. I've worked with many different what people would view as deities, and I've never had any issues one way or the other with them. The only issues I've ever had were brought on my own doing. It wasn't their fault. It was mine. And largely good, evil, positive, and bad. Those are really points of views. Think of the old quote, what's normal for the spider is chaos for the fly. The spider's just doing what the spider does. The fly is just doing what it does. It's just on the bad receiving end of a perfectly natural process in that particular stance. So, no, I don't particularly find demons or other entities bad. It's just the entity is the entity, and if you're working with it and you're aware of its nature, then you're going to be okay. Demons are chaotic. They are chaotic, and they will help you get to where you're going. The question is, are you actually truly ready for that level of change? Because that's what most people get in trouble with, is that change starts coming and they may have to destroy something to actually rebuild it to give you the very thing you asked for. And that's usually where people freak out because of that. But no, in my personal opinion, I don't find them to be bad at all. Let's see. Peachy asks, is vampire magic just like any other energy manipulation with magic with a twist, or can I personally do not put blood magic and vampiric magic in the same category. I personally don't. Because depending on the style of vampiric magic you're practicing, there can be very huge side effects to that. And yeah, it is energy manipulation technically, but there are techniques involved in it that they blur the ethical lines and sometimes even shatter them outright, depending on the style of vampiric magic. So yeah, it is magic, but it is a style like most magic. Every magic is energy manipulation at some level. But yeah, it is a twist, and most practitioners of it do warn of the side effects and stuff. So that's always something to be mindful of. Andrew says, for those unaware that selling your soul is a myth, I assume theoretically can lead to self-curse. If you attempt to do like a soul deal or something like that, and it is possible to self-curse yourself. You haven't sold your soul, but it is potentially possible to self-curse yourself. Luckily, that's usually pretty easy to fix as well. But very, very good insight there, Andrew, and you are correct on that. Ooh, Bernaldus. I never thought of that. That's actually an interesting concept. I'll be honest, I'm not super studied in on Faustian magic, though I really want to at some point when I get free time. Like that's going to happen. But the concept of it being um, a metaphor for shadow work, that's kind of interesting. I like that. That's an interesting concept. I like that a lot. I might have to look into that, Born. I might actually be surfing the internet trying to figure that out before I go to bed tonight. Great question. Love it. Let's see. Dakota asks, I know someone who wants to get into working with demons, but is brand new to magic as a whole. Got any tips I can relay? Actually, yeah, I do. First off, you do want to get them into meditation and grounding, and working on their arcane senses. We have free videos on the channel to that, Dakota. Point them to the channel for that. That said, below most of my videos, especially all the newer ones, there's a book called Demons of Magic by, it's either Gordon Weinstein or Damon Brand. I can't remember which. But his book on working with demons and demonic magic is beginner friendly. It's very easy to follow. It's very well written. The rituals in it are very easy to understand. It's very intuitive. And it's a really great beginner's stepping stone for someone who's wanting to get into that magic. And he does a really great job of explaining it. So if your friend is serious, I would tell them to start with that book. And honestly, that book will get them going completely. It has 3 different rituals based on skill level. And it works with the 72 entities from the Goetia. So there's 72 entities they can work with. And it gives a full rundown on why you can work with them and what they can do for you. So it's a great book. Let's see here. What else we got? Animal Man, that's a good question. And honestly, not much, because occultist is someone who studies mysteries and secrets. That's essentially what the word occult derivatives from. And one who practices magic is actually putting those studies into practice. Now, all magical practitioners are occultists. Let's be honest. Um, the big thing that separates them is some people practice, other people just research and study. Um, in the modern age, most of these people who just read and study have become what's referred to as armchair occultist, because all they do is study. They know the lore, they know the books, they know the myths, they know the legends, but they don't know what it's like to apply it. They have no personal gnosis, no application, and they can't explain or even understand what it's like to do these rituals, if that makes any sense, Animal Man. But that's really the big separator, because all practitioners are occultists. But some occultists don't practice. So that would be the big separator. TC Live, the caterpillar needs to turn into goo to become a butterfly. You may get what you want, but you may not enjoy the ride. TC, dead on, dead on. Angels tend to be a lot easier going most of the time. There are times when angels will totally mess your crap up just as bad as a demon in order to get you to where you're going. Trials and tribulations are a thing. But you are correct. You may have to become goo to become the butterfly. You'll get there, but you might not enjoy the ride. And that's one thing with magic. Magic is hard. It's hard work. Growth and progress. It's hard. And you have to be willing to embrace change. And part of magic is utilizing it to actually get you through those extremely chaotic transformations. But when you get through those transformations, it's really awesome on the other side. Too many people come to magic thinking it's easy, fun, and that it's just a nice, smooth little cupcakes and daisies all the time. And honestly, that's the worst way to approach magic. Mysterious asks, what are the various magical effects one might achieve by freezing someone's picture in plain water? Honestly, it depends on your intent largely. So, for example, the biggest reason this is used is actually as an elemental binding, because you're actually freezing this person in stasis and locking them away in the ice. That's probably the most common and popular. However, I have actually seen this method used in a healing ritual as well. So you're actually binding, freezing, and sealing the disease, while the water energy and the healing energies of the water focus inward on it and actually heal it. So you not only isolate it from the person, helping them and helping them regain their strength and some of their health, but while it's encased, you actually force the healing energy in on it while it's isolated and healing that method. It's a pretty effective healing spell, actually. But it really, one thing with a magician is you got to understand spells. Spells are not necessarily a scientific formula of this is how you have to do it. Your intent, your creativity really has a lot to do with it. But those are the two big ones that I'm aware of for that particular method. And yeah, there are different goals. Like you could do banishing, you can do healing, you can do binding. You can actually even use it as baneful magic to actually basically off someone. And you can even do it to rid someone from your life, to just freeze them out of your life so they have no effect on it, if you will. So yeah, it just depends on how you want to use it, Mysterious. Say, Mystic says, I feel like a lot of people have lately been doing their own shadow work because of all the changes in the world. Actually, Mystic, you are dead on. One of the things that I was taught very early on is never underestimate the power of being alone. In fact, one of my old mentors made it very clear, if you're not okay being alone, truly alone, no one around, no phones, no internet, you have work on yourself that you need to do. So in this time that we are dealing with, we are spending more and more time alone with our thoughts than we are used to. And even with the technological age providing us with plenty of distractions, we're still spending more time alone than we're used to. And because of that, that is forcing us to turn inward and to get right with ourselves. So, yes, it is triggering a sort of shadow work in everyone, which is a good thing. And I do hope everyone actually embraces it, because I would love to see everyone come out of 2020 better than they came in. I really would. But that's a good observation there, Mystic. Real good. Ronaldus, you got a point. Talking about the Faustian play, and that play's been around a long time. I mean, it was even presented at the Birdcage Theater back when in the Wild West. So, I mean, yeah, you could very well be right, because that was a point in time where lessons, metaphors, and philosophies were communicated in an entertained fashion. People actually did think deeper than the surface story. Something we've kind of lost today in the day of special effects, sadly. Twilight, take it easy. Thank you for stopping by. You stay safe too, and have a great weekend. Holiday weekend too, so there should be some food and fun. Have some fun. Stay safe. All right, let's see what we get. Dakota asks, does anyone know about actually working with dragon wolves, or just them as actual beings? There are actually wolf dragons. I'm aware of those, in which is, they're full dragons that work within the wolf energy currents, and obviously different wolves and different forms of lichens. But can't say I know a lot about them. I've worked with a few of them. Enjoyed working with them, but they're not one of the heavier areas I've researched. They would be viewed as a um, form of specialty dragon. Definitely cross elements between Earth and um, I want to say night, Earth and night. So it'd be Earth and darkness. Um, that's about the largest piece I know on them. No, they're not just dragons taking canine form. Now you do have certain entities that they're kind of a cross breed between some kind of draconic creature and wolves, which this could be something completely different. Those are not actually dragons, and those are kind of closer to the chimera category. So those might be what you're talking about. So it really, you do kind of have to figure out exactly which category you're working in there. So yeah, from here it sounds like you're talking about the more chimera style ones. Honestly, Mystic, I got to say I've enjoyed 2020. I do really well. You throw me into a situation, I'm going to lean into it, whatever the situation is. I tend to just lean into it and say, "All right, let's get it." So 2020 has actually been really good for me. It's pushed me in different areas and directions, and I'd say 2020 has actually helped me. I will. It's been a good year for me. Let's see. Yeah, I actually work with a lot with wolf spirits. Didn't really know why until I met Odin, then it starts making more sense. But also raven spirits. But uh, Zenet asks, "What is the most difficult thing you faced so far in regards to working with yourself?" Ooh, that's hard. Um, hmm. You know what? My knee jerk reaction was to say my temper because when I was young, I had a temper. Ooh, did I? It got the better of me a lot, but that wasn't honestly. It wasn't because it wasn't something I liked about myself, and therefore I was very driven to get it under control. Actually, giving a rat's ass about myself and thinking I mattered, hands down, had to be the hardest thing for me to do. For most of my life, I viewed myself as expendable as long as I was helping others. And that's the truth. I didn't see myself as if the sun didn't come up on me tomorrow, no one would care. So yeah, I viewed myself as expendable. Um, and if my wife is watching this, I'm sorry, honey. I know you don't like it or didn't like it. Um, but it was something I worked very hard on because it became very clear that wasn't the case. But it really, I don't know, there was just something in me that it that was one of the hardest things for me to overcome. Um, and there's still days I think where it creeps in from time to time, but it's nothing like it used to be at all. I've pretty much got it under handle now, and obviously I do know I matter, and I know I'm not expendable. But yeah, that for me was really the hardest thing personally to work on because most of these things like traumas and fears and pains and this kind of stuff, they never bothered me that much. And honestly, part of it probably comes from the mentality I had most of my life. But yeah, that for me was the big one. That was the big one. And that was a real struggle. Practically every entity I've worked with has beat my head into the concrete trying to get that through it. But that was the big one. TC, I heard you there. I heard you there. I'm the most social introvert people meet. So, being able to do this and communicate with people gets my socialization out, which leaves me with absolutely no desire to go places. So, yeah, that was kind of heaven for me, too. Won't lie, TC. Mystic asks, can dragon magic help in tarot? Yes, actually it can. Um, in fact, the easiest place to start with tarot, this might actually be a great video to do, Mystic. But the first place you want to start is working with the first four rulers because they align so perfectly with the four elements within tarot. The tarot actually builds on those four elements. So you can easily work with those four rulers and learn entirely new teachings and wisdom, not only about the major arcana, but each suit within tarot, and therefore expand your ability to read tarot massively. Um, on top of that, you can actually call on those four rulers when you're doing a reading so that not only are you doing the reading, not only are you listening to the cards and the energies, but those dragons can actually speak to you as you're doing the reading to offer their personal insights on the reading as it's coming up and going, and in which case, again, just takes your reading to that next level. So those would be the easiest places to get started, Mystic. And I know actually most of the people I know who study dragon magic do tarot too, and that's exactly what they do. When I use my tarot cards, that's what I do. I'm not a big tarot reader. I prefer runes and scrying. I think y'all know that by now. But that is a massive way to improve your tarot, and I hope that helps some. Trust me, Bernaldus, work is a blessing. You don't realize it until you don't have it. There was a period where I couldn't work and I went dang near insane. The most depressed point in my entire life. Yeah, Conway did release a tarot deck called the Celtic Dragon Deck. I may actually do a review of it sometime on this channel. It's a beautiful deck. It reads massively well. I just never really clicked with it because it's a very bright pastel-y artwork. And really, I jive with more gothic style artwork. That's the only reason I never clicked with it. But beyond my personal preferences, the deck is fantastic. If you are interested in tarot and dragon magic, check it out. It's a good deck. Like I said, I may actually do a review of it here on the channel someday. Thanks, Dakota. Thank you for reminding me about that. Great questions here tonight, everyone. What are we up to? 53 minutes, 18 likes out of 20 people. Awesome. Good to hear you all liking the channel. Embracing all of them. I'm not sure you're ever going to get me to embrace pastels. It's just not my bag. I mean, what was it? I wore a red shirt on here one time and y'all just about freaked out on me. So what's this say? Mysterious. In those cases there where you're talking about not being able to curse someone a child depends on. And I actually agree, that's fair. You don't want to harm the child because of what you've done over here. That's a big thing. And that's one of those things we gotta think out what your actions could have consequences onto others, especially children. But in this case, it sounds like they're actually going for that binding. You're binding the person from causing harm and the likes. That's what I would take it as in this particular instance with the information you've given. I hope that helps some. See what else we got here. Animal Man asks, what are my thoughts on atheistic Satanism? Well, I mean, I've looked into Satanism a bit. I'm not going to say I'm any kind of expert or even someone I would call a good resource on it. But that said, I don't know how they're using the term here for atheistic Satanism, but one of my mentors was an atheist, though due to the fact he was half Japanese, his culture actually meant a lot to him. So he did study a lot of Eastern mysticism, the myths, the philosophies, the ideals. Now, by and large, he didn't believe any of the spiritual side of it, but he did see the logic and the philosophy, the ideals, and what could be mentally gained in one's personal development from it. So he saw no spiritual side. He only saw a mental and philosophical benefit. So in many ways, from the outside, a person did once call him atheistic mystic, which at the time I thought was just silly. But it is theoretically possible that this is the same viewpoint that they're coming at, because I do know a lot of atheistic spiritualists who ironically really are coming at it from his viewpoint where he did. And they're viewing the philosophies as just that. It's a philosophy, it's an ideal, almost like a warrior's code of honor. They follow a certain philosophy to live a better life. And I have encountered this in a few different practices. I can't say I've personally encountered it with Satanism. But my thoughts would be that at least theoretically, that's the same ideology that they would be using. But that's the best I could actually say to that one, Animal Man. And honestly, at the end of the day, my personal opinion, if you're not hurting anyone and it's working, you do it. And Bernardo said, it does seem to be a contradiction, but if you view it as a philosophy and an ideology, not a spirituality or a belief, it actually doesn't contradict. So it depends on the approach. It's kind of fascinating. I'm not here to knock anyone's works. And I keep being told I should read the Satanic Bible. I think I've only read a few chapters in it, and that's because it was on somebody's side table when I was waiting at their house. It's just not been something. Y'all know me. I don't do the religious thing. So outside Magick and studying something that I think is going to benefit me magically or in some way. Though I love philosophy, and I will, study different religions from a philosophical standpoint. By and large, I don't get involved in religion too much. So those aren't books I tend to buy. But I do make a point. I don't judge people by their religion. As you do you, you're happy, don't hurt anyone, we're square. Let's see here. Let's see, what is this? Dakota asks, any tips, deals for cursing someone I live with and depend on so they feel bad when they do the things that hurt me? I've tried talking and all that, but it's still toxic and I can't move out for a while. It's a tricky one, Dakota. Well, one thing you could do is a form of sigil magic on this. I don't know if some people would call this a curse. Some people would just call it influence magic. But get a hold of the Sigil of Pinewood. Paimon is actually really good at mentally influencing others in our benefit. So get that sigil, charge the sigil, activate the sigil. And actually, you don't have to do a full evocation or anything. You can just call on Paimon, repetitively chanting his name if you want until you feel a connection and a surge of energy. And at which point you tell Paimon exactly what it is, which is pretty much exactly what you wrote here. And he can actually begin to influence that person and push them into that direction so that they actually do feel bad when those things happen. And you should see a curbing in their behavior, because people tend not to do what makes them feel bad in most cases. So you should see that curb their behavior some. That would be how I would personally handle it. And like I said, you don't even need to do a full evocation. You can just get the sigil and use it like any other sigil for sigil magic, and it'll still have a pretty solid effect. If you do have some skill at evocation, go ahead, do a full contact evocation. You don't need to go astral or even full physical evocation, but and it'll ramp your results up even further. Pastel is about the best way I can describe Conway's deck. I guess you could also describe them as bright. It just, I don't know. They weren't for me. They were too bright for my personal taste, TC. Unless at some point they changed the artwork somehow, because the deck I got is really, really bright. So I don't know if they've changed the artwork or nothing, because I've had my deck, 15, 16 years now. I'm getting old. I've not seen the other deck, TC, so I can't comment on that one. Interesting. I might actually have to check out the new artwork sometime. See if I can find out what's going on there. Because I did enjoy the deck. If they've toned down the colors and darkened it up a bit, I might actually take to that deck a bit more. Thanks for letting me know. I'll check it down again. Okay. Well, we're sitting here on an hour right now. 18 people in the chat, 18 likes. That's awesome. That's what we like to see. If you have any final questions, go ahead and drop them in here. We'll make sure to try and get those. And let's see, Sunday we do have the Magical Coffee Hour, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to join us for that. We are working to get more videos out. We are trying to get more Norse videos, more Fae videos, and more on Dragon Magic. As for the Bone Uncrossing spell, we are trying to get that filmed in a functionally understandable way. The last time I tried to film it, it just made no sense, so we're still working on that. Apologize. But we are working on it, and we are trying to get it. Also, we are still working on the Dragon Magic 102 course, though it does look like it will be released after New Year's, but that's okay for those of you in 101. Take the extra time, focus on some of your own private research, or keep working and getting to know and build those relationships with those dragons better. That will only benefit you in the long run. This isn't something that should be rushed through anyways. You shouldn't be looking for the minimum time for the courses. Hey, Will, good to see you, man. What are we holy crapping? But yeah, also to my Patreon members, thank you very much for all your support. I did get this month's spell done, and I communicated it. So, and always, as always, if you have something going on in your life that you do want help with, if you message me before the first of the month, I will try to work it into the first of the month spell working for tier 2 and tier 3 Patreon members to make sure I can target that and get that included for you. And also, if you don't support me on Patreon but are interested, there should be a link below the video or any of the other videos we have where you can sign up for tiers 1, 2, or 3. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see. Mystic, I'm just going to have to admit stupidity. Dream magic is not my strong suit. I'm not someone who really dreams. If I dream, they're usually not good, and they usually are more vision and style. So I don't really tinker with dream magic unless it's included in path work I'm doing that someone else wrote. Due to the fact I do try to stick to path workings very specifically. So I'll utilize it there as they lay it out. Otherwise, I don't do much with dream magic. It's just not an area. I'm someone who likes to do everything actively in my waking hours. So dream, yeah, that's the main reason. So I'm not the guy to talk to for dream magic. Believe it or not, there are areas I just don't know. But I'm also happy to admit that. I don't even know any good books on that. I really don't. I apologize, Mystic. TC, man, you have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. The Conway's Tarot deck is a gorgeous deck. I do not deny that. Like I said, it's just not one that jives with me. It's absolutely a wonderful deck to work with. And honestly, the art is gorgeous. Just because it don't jive with me, doesn't mean I don't like the art itself. It is gorgeous. Vortex. It is very possible for things to be around you. Honestly, most people don't realize it, but if you were to open your arcane sight fully, the entire planet is going to look like Times Square at New Year's Eve. There's that many things around us at all times. So if you can't see or hear them, but you know they're around you, I would say work on your arcane senses, which I do have a video on the channel that gives exercises on how to develop them. Because if they're there, you do still have to actually develop the ability to hear them. It's not something that they're just going to scream and it's going to be like hearing a normal person standing beside you. It is possible, and they have in times made larger noises that would allow someone who isn't trained or developed their senses to do so. But more often than not, they're not going to take that extra step. They're going to wait and see what you do first. And they could be there to work with you. They could be there for any number of reasons. Sometimes dragons just happen to be in the area. I mean, that's the truth. So in your case, I would say focus on developing your arcane senses. The two I'd put my focus on is arcane sight and arcane hearing. Those are your two primaries for working with entities. So those are the ones I'd focus on developing. Dakota, at this time, no. Honestly, outside myself, I do not know any good resources. And that kind of saddens me. I'm hoping that that changes in the future. When you say draconic path, there are people who are posting like draconian magic, but it's not dragon magic. It's a completely separate path, which I did do a video explaining the differentials on that. I am constantly researching and trying to find other practitioners online sharing their research and their studies in hopes to build a directory of these resources. So far, I'm falling flat on my face every time I've tried it. Hopefully, that will change very soon, Dakota. And I apologize right now that I don't have more to build on for you. Yes. Starting out, Mystic, when working with Dream Magic, if you found your guardian dragon, guardians are really great at helping you with your dreams, as is your co-magician. So those would be the first two I'd go to. After that, dreams really help us process our mental and emotional um, stresses and what's going on with us mentally and emotionally. So from there, I would actually look at the ruler of air, Zephyr Seal, and the ruler of the water dragons, Cor Allegra. Those are really where I would start. Some of the high rulers can actually deal in DreamWorks, but you don't want to really be working with them until you're ready. So I'd keep my focus on the Guardian Dragon, Co-Magician, and those two rulers. And they can even probably put you in touch with some water and air dragons that do even specialize within DreamWorks. Let's see, Will's like, Drake, do you do any first thing in the morning? Thoughts, focuses, wishes for the day? For me, Will, yeah, actually I kind of do. So one thing that I do is I always keep a list of what I'm working on, what I'm trying to achieve. And I keep it broke down into what am I doing this week? What am I doing this month? Next 3 months, 6 months, year, and 5 years. Um, so I always have those. I'm always working on them. And I am always looking at them. And I'm always using magic and ritual to push toward them. But my daily routine is I actually go in the hailing ritual that I actually shared on this channel. So I will do the Dragon's Flame ritual, and then I'll sit down in the space prepared by the Dragon's Flame ritual, and I will do the hailing ritual on top of that. And once I finish the hailing ritual, if there's any particular entity that I'm wanting to work with that morning, I'll contact them. Otherwise, I will sit down and I will meditate on exactly what I need to do today. And I will put my focus on that. And once I've just figured out mentally and focused on what I need to do today, I start asking myself, what are my goals for today? What do I want to personally achieve? How do I want to make sure I finish this day a better Drake than I woke up? And I put energy into that during the ritual, and I actually push that into reality. And when I'm done, I close out the hailing ritual, and I get up and I go get my day going. Now, the only thing that I didn't include to this is before I actually go to do that ritual, I actually start my day with a quiet meditation and grounding with my morning coffee. My morning coffee, that first cup, that is a ritual to me. So when I make that coffee, I'm kind of zoned out and everything. But once I pour it and I sit down, I start thinking and meditating a bit and grounding and just preparing my energy and getting more in a balanced state before I do go do my hailing ritual. That's pretty much my morning routine right there, man. Ariel, welcome. Glad you made it, even if it's late. That's okay. We are getting ready to close up, but I'm glad you made it all the same. Let's see what else. I'm trying to finish up the last few questions here. Mysterious, that is true. Dreams are so very individual. A book is at best a basic guideline, not so much, you can't really nail it down because the symbolism and stuff is very personal. But they can be a general guideline. And sometimes that general guideline can spark inspiration. But yeah, that's another reason it can be hard to find a good resource. Dakota, I haven't actually sat down personally and spoke with Dragon Feather, though I do remember seeing her channel years ago, and it's actually great to see she's still on YouTube. I never thought I'd be here, which that still weirds me out, but um, I know she used to have a more Wicca approach to dragon magic. I'm not sure which direction she's gone at this point. I need to go catch up on her channel. I really do. But I am glad that at least that is a resource that's out there. Let's see what we got. Hey, Lauren, glad you made it. Hey, better late than never, Lauren. Let's see. All right, we go. Mua says, so I did a love manifestation and it worked ish. And Thor is being like to dad. He is like, nope, you're not getting hurt. Well, Mua, my first thing would be it's your spell, it's your choice. Now, if you're using them to step in and help with the spell and or do the spell for you, then they do get a vote. But if it's your spell work, it's your choice. They have to get out of the way. But when it comes to love manifestation, Thor's got a point. You got to be careful. Love spells are tricky, very, very tricky. But I hope that it does manifest. I hope it does well, and I hope everything goes good for you. I don't judge. But yeah, I mean, if Thor's being overprotective, just tell him to step aside. You're willing to accept the consequences if there are any. Okay, so Lauren, this is a fascinating question. Yeah, we got time for this one, Lauren. She asked what my thoughts are on balance and spell work. Some people think when you manipulate energy for a spell, you should give something to balance it out. Here's the thing. Energy is energy. Spell work is the manipulation of energy. It is the transformation of that energy. So when you move energy from one spot to another, you're not going to create a hole. So, for example, if you're in a pool and you splash water to the right, the water level where you're at does not go down. Everything just kind of stays nice and balanced and fluid. Magic works the same way. Energy is energy. So when we're talking balance, it's what's manifesting, what's showing in your life. So you don't need to worry about the spell itself and giving back. What you need to look at is you, yourself, your life. What do you got going on? If you're like me and you're a workaholic and you've got this severe workaholic streak over here, and you've got no free time, no downtime, no relaxation time that you're spending with your family, that's an unbalanced aspect, and you have to rebalance it. And you got to find a way to rebalance it. And you can use magic for that. Now, I have found ways to keep my work up at pace that I find comfortable and still smother my family with attention. They actually get tired of me. They tell me to go do more work because I do make sure they get time. I make sure they get tired of me. So that's what we mean by balance. When you do spell work and you utilize energy to create a manifestation, you don't have to worry about it creating a hole over here. That's not an issue. I hope that answers your question, Lauren. Let's see. Oh, she seems like an absolute sweetie. I would actually like to get a chance to talk to her at some time. She does seem to be like a sweetie. Well, Mua, your option is to, if Thor's not going to have it, just don't include him in the ritual. It's that simple. You are free to make that choice yourself. You really are. So just don't include him in the ritual. Easy peasy. Me and Thor's butted heads a few times, and at the end of the day, when it came time to do the spell work, I just didn't include him. I just left him out. He didn't want to help. Didn't make him help. That was pretty simple. So if he's going to do that, I would just leave him out of the ritual. If you're dead set on doing it, just leave him out. I'm not sure she'd ever do a collab with me, though. That would be a pretty fun video. I really think that would be. I might see if I can reach out to her about something about that, because I don't even think she knows I exist. If you want the truth, but that would be a pretty interesting video. Yeah, Lauren, think of the fact that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. The multiverse will always have a set amount of energy in it. Even if energy is destroyed goes into the void to be destroyed, the void actually puts out the exact same energy at all times. So the energy levels in the multiverse never shift. So you don't have to put it back. I really do not know where this concept came from. I have tried to find it. It makes no sense looking at the 28 magical laws. I think this is a spiritual or religious ideology, is where it's coming from, but I'm not sure. But I am glad that that at least made sense to you, Lauren. Great question. Great question. Uh, Honestly, with communications, my go-to is mugwort. I love it, and I either burn it as an incense or tea. And I always buy the food grade version of it as a tea. I don't buy anything else because I don't trust most of the vendors anywhere near me. So I always just buy mugwort tea. I know it's food grade, it's squared away, and I use it either as a tea or an incense. We'll ask, what are the reactions of the dragons when I work with other pantheons? They don't care. They really do not care. I have not found a group of entities or pantheon or anything the dragons do not work with on some level. So, because they have those multiversal alliances and they are so focused on the balance, they really don't care. They do not care. They are willing to work with and do what is necessary. So, they have no issues. Um, Set and the dragons, it can get sketchy. Dragons are not big on worship, and most of your Egyptians are really heavy on worship. So that is one beef where they kind of get a little friction, but by and large, if the practitioner is following a Egyptian path or even working with Set, the dragons that are working with the practitioner will actually they'll get along. They'll make sure they get along. They don't really hold grudges and stuff like that. Yeah, I see your point, Lauren. I can see your point. Well, yeah, definitely. If you get a chance to talk to her again, Dakota, um, do feel free to mention me. Tell her I love her content. I've been a fan for years, and I'm glad she's still doing well. Hope she's doing well. So yeah, I mean, you're just going to have to throw the dice and make your decision. And if he's not willing to help, you're going to have to ask Thor to step aside. And remember, that's totally within your power to do. All right, everybody, I need to actually wrap up here. We're 27 minutes past the attempted wrap up. Great questions, everyone. It was great to see you all tonight. Even those of you who showed up late, it was wonderful to have you and wonderful to get to answer some of your questions as well. As always, I appreciate every one of you. And thank you for your support and the support on the channel. And I will continue to keep making videos and content to try and share as much information as is possible for me to do. And we will keep the live streams coming so that we can also continue these live chats and answering questions and let you know what I got going on in my crazy life here. Till then, everyone, have a wonderful weekend. I know it's a holiday weekend, so try and stay safe, have some fun, maybe grill out, enjoy your weekend. And I will see you Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Magical Coffee Hour, where you can bet we'll be drinking a lot of coffee and answering some more questions. So, y'all take it easy, and I'll see you Sunday.